Hello and welcome back to another episode of Amazon Ads Raw. Hello. All right, today we are talking about the reporting engine or the reporting feature that Amazon released, I think 4 weeks ago when they had the unboxed event and they announced a couple of new features for Amazon Ads. I have played around with this reporting engine quite a bit already, and I think it's fantastic. I'll have to say I really love many of the things they are doing with this, where this is going, and it's really a time saver. Let me tell you, before we dive into how to use this tool a little bit more, let me tell you the cool things about it. First, if you are on more than one account, you can create reports that are spanning across accounts. Meaning, for someone that is either an agency or a freelancer or whatever and working on multiple accounts, you can create one report across all of these accounts that are within your access. So I can pull all the search terms from all the accounts with one report. The next cool thing is the same also applies for the ad types. Inside the sponsored ad reports, you would need to select, do you want to have a sponsored product report, a sponsored brand report, or a sponsored display report? So you could not just pull search terms across all your ad types, sponsored brands and sponsored products. You would need to pull two reports. And these reports had different column arrays. You know, the columns were not exactly the same, so you couldn't easily copy and paste them into one sheet as well, which made it obviously very tough to work with these kind of things. Now, with this new reporting thing, I can run this across my ad types. The next cool thing is, in the sponsored ad reports, most of these reports had a look back window limitation. 65 days for most of them. Search terms, only 65 days. Which means if you come into an account as a new person, you could not just download last year's data. You could just download the last 65 days and look at that. So you were limited in your ability to look what was happening last year, you know, how was seasonality and so on and so forth. Unless the seller, the account, the brand, whatever, had these scheduled or, you know, downloaded or via API in their systems or whatever. Now with the reporting, I call it engine, with this new reporting beta, you have much longer look back windows. I can immediately pull up a report that is for the full year, last 12 months. I can create reports where dimensions are overlapping that usually have not been possible. So I can pull a report that shows me ASIN performance plus placement performance, ASIN placement performance. Before, I needed to pull down an ASIN report and a placement report. And I needed to do that for sponsored products and for sponsored brands. So if I wanted to understand how my ASIN placement performance is across these, I would need to pull 4 reports, kind of try to merge them together, you know, different columns, and different metrics eventually as well, and deduplicating, you know, which is a tough analytical job. And now I can create a report that covers this. And there are templates. There's already some predefined templates you can use. Another good thing about it. But it doesn't stop here. We will go into the reports. I'll show you a little bit, and I'll try to be quick as usual. And then you can figure out the things yourself by exploring it yourself. The best learning is usually just doing it. Just doing it, trying it yourself. Watch my videos, get inspired, and then do it yourself. Don't try to replicate what I'm doing. Try to learn how it's done, and then do it yourself over and over again until you are very proficient in doing it. All right, let's get it started. There's a few more positive things to mention here. One thing being, I can select the time dimension, so I can download the full year, but I don't need to download this by date or as a summary. I can select, give me a weekly grain or a monthly grain on the time. And this is amazing. This is really cool. Now let's look at some of these pre-built reports here. Let's go into campaigns. Let's see how the campaigns would look like. So in the beginning, you would need to set some filters. So as I said, you need to select an account first. You can select multiple. Then you can filter for specific campaigns or just leave it blank. And then it's all campaigns. You can also select specific countries, or if you leave it blank, it's all countries. And the same goes for ad products. If you leave it blank, it's all the ad products, but you can also just select individual ad products. You give it a name, and the interesting thing with this report is similar to the other reports. You pull it once, and then you can, once you have pulled it, you can go back into report settings. You can change the settings here and then run it again. So let's say you've created this as a template for yourself. Hey, this is my master report. I pull this once a month. You create it, it's set, everything is saved, your settings, your column settings, and these settings. And then you just go in and you change the time frame, right? Or if you know it's your master report and you want to pull it once a month for the last, for the last month, you can also do date range last month, report frequency monthly, and then always on the first of the month, or you're gonna wait a few days for attribution to happen. So let's say the 3rd, usually on the 3rd of the month, at what time, whatever, I want to get this report scheduled. Maybe even sent to my email or not, and then you can schedule it similar to the other reports. And that way it's going to be auto pulled each month. It's going to be saved as a CSV in your account, so you have always access to it also later on, or somebody else might have access to that as well. But let's talk about, so these are the filters. These are the periods. As I said, much more availability from, you can do, all of these kind of predefined filters. Last 90 days, not a problem. This quarter, not a problem. This year, not a problem. Even last year is available. What I've seen, and this is like a little caveat, when I pull very long time, first of all, depending on your settings in the report, they get really big. I have easily downloaded reports that are 200, 300 megabyte CSV files. So they will get very, very heavy if you select, let's say, the wrong dimensions here, especially the wrong time or level of detail dimensions. The more granular you get with time, meaning instead of year, month, or week, you go on date, and then you have one row per each date, plus eventually, level of detail. I want to see my ad products, which is the campaign types. I want to see all the campaigns per each day. I want to see, all my, right now there is like, not much more in here. But you get the point, right? So this is getting really big. And at some point, there are hundreds of megabytes. And then it's going to be tough to handle with Google Sheets, for example, or it's also going to be tough to handle with Excel at some point, if there are like 1 million rows. So they are getting quite big, easily quite big. The bigger your account, the bigger this gets. If they're getting too big, try to minimize your level of detail. Either go from a daily grain to a weekly or even a monthly. If you pull the full year, then monthly is fine. If you pull, let's say, last 90 days, I would say go for date range, because this is usually dynamic. You don't want to go for month, because then you have like half a month, a full month, another, another full month, and then another half month of data. So you cannot easily compare month over month. But you could do weekly in that, but then still at the beginning or the end, for last 90 days, you will have 2 weeks which are not full of data. So it depends on what you're pulling, what report period you're pulling, what you select. You can also select multiple week and month. This makes it easier for pivoting table. If you pivot the table and then you want to look at the weekly grain or you want to look at the monthly grain, you don't need another column that is kind of helping you to segment, slice and dice your data. All right, so this predefined report is pulling campaigns, so it's pretty easy. It pulls the date range. It's like just one time frame. If I select last 7 days, it's one row for these 7 days. This is my date range. Or if I do 90 days, the amount of rows is not changing. It's the 90 days or the full year has the same amount of rows than the last 7 days, most likely, depending on active campaigns, whatever, blah 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 blah. Now, advertiser account. So this gives you account ID, account name, and manager accounts. You don't need to have that if you just pull it for one account, then you can just deselect because it's a redundant information. Add product, as we said, these are those. If you're not running DSP, if you're not having access to DSP, then DSP will be obviously empty. Same for if you're not having any SD campaigns set up, then there's nothing behind the ad product, right? Then this is empty as well. It doesn't even show up as an ad product entity in the rows. And then campaign, you'll usually get, if you select ad group name or campaign name or something like that, it's automatically also giving you the IDs. This is another fantastic feature. Why is this fantastic? Because if you want to make some changes with bulk sheets, you always need the campaign ID or the ad group ID, because that's the hierarchical, whatever kind of level. The IDs are very important. If I want to change a keyword bid, I need to know campaign ID, ad group ID, and targeting ID, right? So I need to have these 3 IDs in order to change a bid, for example. If I want to change a placement modifier, I need campaign ID. If I want to add keywords, I need ad group ID and campaign ID. So these IDs are essential for bulk sheets. And in the normal sponsored products reporting, sponsored ad reporting, you wouldn't get any of these IDs. You needed to download the bulk file. Now with these reports, I'll get them with it, which is great. Now let's look at some of the metrics here. So we have impressions, viewable impressions, clicks, CTR, viewable CTR, total costs. Important on the metrics, there's no spend or something like that. It's called total costs. This comes from the DSP. So the reporting is like very much enhanced compared to the sponsored ads reporting. And most of these metrics are actually coming from DSP. And if you download your normal reports, they will all be empty. So don't expect now to get fancy new metrics on search term levels. This is not the case. So Amazon has not added more metrics here to a certain dimension. There are more metrics now available for those who have not done DSP before that you can now select, but they will be empty for, let's say, your normal products. For your sponsored product, campaigns, keywords, ASINs, there is no agency fee or audience fees or whatever, these total fees. You can select all of them. Eventually the report will go through, but they will be all 0 or empty. All right. Total costs, this is spend, right? So you will need that. Impressions is impressions, clicks is clicks, and then you have like purchases, sales, units bought, or I think it's called like, let's have a quick look. Units sold. For some of the ad types, there are more metrics available, and I'll cover that in the next bit. So this is like the predefined campaign thing. Go ahead, do it. This is great. Now let's go into another one, the audiences. Let's see how audience look like. Amazon predefined usually uses this date range, but you can change that, and then select month, and then go for this year. You can also move them around, which I love. I define where the column needs to be. Do I want to have month at the end of the dimensions or at the beginning? Oh, man, I really love this too. Impressions, clicks, CTR, supply costs. This is coming from DSP. DSP audiences have a supply cost. Total costs, supply cost means like there's an additional CPM you need to pay. Purchases promoted, cost per purchase promoted, purchase rate promoted. I will not go into details on these metrics, but because of the DSP, let's say the DSP connection, there are many metrics that seem to be duplicated. There is sales from clicks. There is sales from clicks promoted. There are sales from, sales promoted, and so on and so forth. Sales from views. This all comes because of the view-based attribution in DSP and also in some instances in sponsored display or sponsored brands. So if you select sponsored display reach campaigns, they are view-based attributed. If you select sponsored brand drive brand awareness, I'm not quite sure how I'm not using this. You have the selection between drive clicks and drive brand awareness, and brand awareness I think is also view attributed. If things are view attributed, Amazon standard is to report sales or whatever based on views. However, in this reporting, you're also getting the sales from clicks. So if somebody actually clicked on an ad and then made a sale. And then you have the distinction between promoted and unpromoted, which is what we call in the sponsored ads, like these, it's called a halo effect. So I promote one ASIN and then another ASIN is going to be bought. I have a parent with 3 ASINs. I promote the cheapest one and then I promote the red one and then the yellow one is bought. Sales promoted is from my actually promoted ASIN in that campaign. And, all the sales, or then, all the combined sales that this campaign made, which includes the promoted ASINs, but also the not promoted ASINs. There's a specific report in sponsored ads that's called other SKU sales or something like that. I'm not sure how the name of the report is. All right, so make sure that you understand all of these different metrics. I think there might be some, it's kind of, I think if we would remove all of them, there is like a definition here that tells you, what is reconcile, what is promoted, and so on and so forth. So make sure to check it out. Try and error, always good. Just select them, put them in, see what it does. I want to highlight, because we're already at 70 minutes, I want to highlight a few interesting things that I saw the other day that are coming through for sponsored brands and also sponsored display. If you're a CPG company, you want to look at your subscribe and save subscriptions from certain campaigns. How are certain campaigns driving my subscribe and subscription rate, right? So what we could do here is like just by campaign, for example, month, campaign, subscribe and save subscription. Maybe let's add costs as well. Costs and, I don't know, sales or units or whatever. Subscribe and save subscriptions, pretty amazing, because I'll see how many subscriptions has a certain campaign driven. Another cool thing is the new to brand stuff. So you can also, select all of these different metrics just for new to brand. This also just works for sponsor brand and sponsored display. It doesn't work for sponsor products. So there are certain things that are not working on certain ad types. So you have to figure this out. You see new to brand, boop, 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 boop. There's 80 metrics just new to brand related. So don't get lost in all of these metrics. Think about, some of them, try out a few of them. But you see there's like add to cart new to brand, add to cart new to brand promoted, add to cart new to brand halo, which is like promoted is my advertised ASIN. Halo is the non-advertised ASINs. And then you have add to cart, which is all, right? And then you have add to cart new to brand. So it's like, it's a little confusing, but I think you get it. If you're watching this, you're smart enough to get this. All right. Now 20 minutes in, feel free to explore the tool yourself. You find it under measurement and reporting. Should be there. It's called reporting beta. Go in, select a few templates, run it against your account, run it against all of the accounts, create a few yourself, select some dimensions and so on and so forth. If a report is not able to be created, you get a warning and then you just create it. You wait a second. You get a warning, you fix the warning and then you create it. All right. Happy exploring. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.